Hello and welcome, all listeners, to Xavier Newswire Live, the radio show that will catch you up on all of the Xavier news from Ledgewood Drive to Dana Avenue and beyond. Today is October 26th, and we are bringing the show to you live on XUFM. My name is David Ludwig, and Will Pembroke is still in quarantine, so I am joined today by this episode's guest host, Erin Albright. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you for having me, David.
Of course. And in this episode of Newswire Live, you'll get to hear the multimedia crew bring you the rundown on Newswire Advisor John Stowell, updates on the recent COBRA Collective protest and sit-in, and the Restorative Justice Circle. That's enough from me now, so let's get right on into the show. At this time, I will turn it over to Nina Benich with her article on Newswire Advisor John Stowell.
John Stowell has been Xavier Newswire's advisor for 5 years and offers a unique and valuable perspective on the world of journalism. I was able to interview him and ask about his experiences and the lessons he learned and hopes to pass on to the Newswire staff. John is originally from Southwest Michigan and worked for the Kokomo Tribune in Indiana for 7.5 years. During that period of time, I started off like most cover reporters, doing everything from chasing ambulances, fire trucks, and police cars to writing obituaries and learning to write under deadline pressure, he recalled. Afterward, John moved on to Washington, where he was a press secretary for a congressman for 3.5 to 4 years and ran his campaign for re-election. After the win, John left and moved into the corporate area, where he worked for Duke Energy. What I learned there is that all the writing skills that I learned through my journalism career, both as a print reporter and as a press secretary, worked very well in transitioning into the corporate world because writing is the bedrock of any career that one has, John added. Prior to leaving Duke Energy, John spent 2 years as a mentor for students on Xavier's campus who were majoring in environmental studies, using his experience at Duke as vice president of environmental study by volunteering through Xavier's mentorship program. One of these students happened to be a Newswire reporter and informed John about the recent vacancy in the advisor position. I came down to the office, and before I knew it, I was being interviewed for a position. I found the staff, just as today's staff is, very united in their goals to make a better newspaper each and every issue, having a good time and learning a lot. It was a camaraderie-ship I really appreciated, John said. When asked about some of his strongest memories from both his journalism career and from Newswire, John told a story of an early experience he had of running into a burning house while attempting to get footage of the fire. There, I sort of learned that there is some degree of limit on what one ought to do, he said humorously. He said there isn't a particular memory of Newswire that comes to mind, but emphasized one of the challenges Newswire had faced over the years. Covering the protests this year and in previous years too have been a challenge for our reporters by the way they live up to it every single time, and I'm so proud when they do, he said. John said that a valuable thing to remember as a Newswire staff member and as any type of journalist is to seek out challenging stories. I think the challenge for everyone on the staff is to just keep connected with your fellow students and look for stories that aren't obvious, because they're out there and that's what a good reporter does, he said.
And listeners, we have a very special treat for you, live and in person. We have John Stowell here for an interview. Hi, John.
Hey, David. How's it going?
It's going pretty great. I just want to say, first of all, thanks for all you do for the Newswire. Genuinely, I think everyone in this room has benefited a lot from your guidance, and Newswire wouldn't be what it is today without you.
Well, thanks. That's nice you to say.
Yeah.
I like the operation here.
Yeah. It's
very professional.
Thank you very much. I actually want to go back a little bit to that burning building story. That's, I don't know. It's flashy. It caught my eye. It's what was going through your mind?
Pulitzer Prize, of course. No, I only had been on the job maybe a couple, 3 months, something like that. And you guys are around 22 years old, so you think you're invincible. I thought I was too. And the building was on fire, and the firemen were inside the structure So if you're going to cover something, it's best to get as close to the action as you can, I thought. And so I went into the house, and I did get some pretty cool shots of the firemen with the hose and the flames. It wasn't a lot of flames, but enough.
Yeah.
The problem with a burning building is the ceiling can collapse.
Yeah.
And it didn't fully collapse, or I probably wouldn't be sitting here, but it did partially, and I came out a little singed and very dirty. And the next day, the fire chief had a word with me, shall we say.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So I guess, would you like to walk our listeners through kind of what your duties as advisor to the Newswire? Do you want to just give us like a little day in the life? What you do for meetings, what you do outside of meetings? Just give us the rundown.
Well, I interfaced the most with the editor-in-chief, Heather Gass, this year, and Alex Budzinski, who's the managing editor, but also all the page editors as well. So there's a total of, I think it's 7 editors that work on each issue. They all have their areas of responsibility. So initially I work with them just to review the stories that are on the screen, on the computer screen prior to being finalized. Then when the publication is out, I review each of the stories, and I look for everything from the content of the stories, the flow of the story, the spelling, punctuation, the headlines, and the leads. And we go through it on Thursday after the edition comes out, the entire staff, and we all learn from one another how to make each issue better.
Yeah. Erin, Nina, do you guys have any questions at all you want to ask?
I was just wondering if there's anything else you'd like to emphasize to the people of Newswire, anything that you learned over your journalism career that you would like to tell everyone in the staff, I guess, that you would like to emphasize.
Well, I think, the important thing really is you guys are all on the ground here 24/7 at Xavier. I'm here a couple, 3 days a week, off and on. So you're the ones that see the stories as they happen, or the stories that might happen, or the features, the quirky little things that happen on campus. So I advise all the reporters and editors just to keep their eyes and their ears open, and don't take anything for granted. Very often a very simple situation story, something that happens outside or in Gallagher, can be an interesting story. It could be a news story, it could be a feature story. So I did this as a reporter. I felt like I never took my reporter hat off. And even if I was at Kroger or something, I was always kind of looking to see if there was a story within my reach. And I still do that. I write for Cincinnati Magazine, and I come up with story ideas all the time. Probably bugs my editor, but that's the best way to really just keep your ear to the ground and talk with your fellow students, and you'll come up with great story ideas.
I'm so shocked by the burning house story, honestly.
I hope I'm not going to get in trouble with administration for this story. Do not run into a burning house. That's my official advice.
Good advice, and I will take that for the rest of my life.
Okay.
Note to you all at home, don't run into burning buildings. Just don't. Actually, so you've been doing advising for Newswire for how long again?
This is my 5th year.
Okay. Have you just in your time had, what are some of your favorite articles? It can be most outlandish, you're just some of the more interesting ones, or just ones you liked. What are some of your favorite articles that you've seen?
I think what I really like is for the students write feature stories, primarily because it allows the student to be creative and find something on campus that's colorful. There was a story a year or so ago about a guy who just stood in the middle of Xavier Yard and strummed on his guitar and sang and attracted a big crowd. Well-written story. And an interesting story. And you wouldn't think, that's what I mean, that's what I tell the students, you wouldn't think that just a guy who walks outside and starts strumming on his guitar could be a feature, but it turned out to be a really good feature story. Yeah. I also like the way our paper's put together right now with the various sections. And I'm a big fan of the back page. If readers should never put that paper down before they turn it to the very back page and see all the quirky stuff that Aidan Callahan comes up with.
I had some good times on the back page before I
Yes, I know
started.
you did.
My first article, I think, for the Newswire was the Taylor Swift parody.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's what it was. I don't know. I'm just reminiscing at this point. Wow, it's just so great to have this experience. To talk about all
and
this.
you have really a huge opportunity. It's tinged with sadness, I guess, to some degree, but to cover a campus that's operating pretty much full bore during a pandemic when a lot of institutions are shut down right now.
Yeah.
And what I'm most impressed by is what I see outside and inside. Everybody with their masks on, everybody being very careful with the social distancing. I mean, I've never seen such discipline out of 18 to 22-year-olds in my life. So congratulations to everybody on that.
I do have to ask, last year when Newswire first ran their COVID-19 coverage article in the World News section, did you think that it was going to end up where we are now?
Well, I don't think anybody would have predicted it had been this bad. But you could tell this was a very serious thing that we were facing because there was no cure for it. It was racing like crazy through the country. I do remember when you guys were all on spring break getting the phone call from the editor-in-chief then saying, what are we going to do? And what you guys ended up doing was impressing the hell out of me. I guess I just shouldn't have said hell, right? But it did. Because you guys published a top-notch paper every single week from 7 or 8 different locations. And it was a Herculean feat that you guys were able to pull off. So you rose to the occasion.
Yeah. Thank you very much, John.
You bet.
Also, in honor of Will, Hunter asked me to do this in honor of Will Pembroke, Erin, John. As you guys might know, we do hot takes. So even though we do not have the Spice Master himself here, Will Pembroke,
I know.
we would love if both of you would honor us with a hot take.
Okay. I guess that puts the pressure on, right?
a little bit. It could be anything. Yeah, anything.
It could
Xavier
be
related. Anything at all.
Well, in honor of Will not being here, I'm going to predict that Tampa Bay will win Game 6, but the Dodgers will win Game 7.
Okay. I'll take it. I'm not a huge sports person. We may have figured that out last week when we did Sports Talk with Will and Co. Erin, do you have a Xavier hot take?
Honestly, I don't. Also, not quite a sports fan, but because John is our journalism expert, I'm just going to agree with him.
You're going to wholeheartedly
and say
agree with
that
John.
he is correct.
Okay, perfect. Nina, would you also like to throw your hat in the ring on this one or a new hot take?
I'm also not a sports person, but I will have to agree with that. I trust John, and I trust his sports judgment. So I will have to agree.
I guess we're all headed to Vegas.
I love it. All right. Thank you very much, John. Listeners, if you're keeping track, that was our 4th edition of Inside Newswire. We've now heard a lot about how the Newswire works throughout this series, from the top of the organization with Heather Gast and John Stowell, and down to the page editors like Charlie Gestalder, putting the print edition of Newswire together on a weekly basis. Thanks to all who've been a part of making this series possible, and listeners, hopefully you've got to hear some perspective on the daily operations of how involved the Newswire is in keeping the student body informed and engaged. But of course, we've still got a lot more coming up for you in this show, so join us in a couple seconds where we will have Julia Lankisch on for her coverage of the COBRA Collective protest and walkout.
Students representing the Coalition of Black Revolutionaries and Allies, more commonly known as the COBRA Collective, assembled in Gallagher Student Center on Monday to gather information about the experiences of students of color at Xavier. They requested that attendees fill out 4 surveys covering various aspects of the university's culture: student life and support, finance and academics, communication and collaboration, and representation. Sophomore Courtney Williams was among the organizers of the event. We want to document student concerns from a number of different demographics and pass them on to the Civil Rights Commission so they can actually work on the specific issues with the administration's help, she commented. University President Father Michael Graham requested the creation of the Civil Rights Commission after student protests brought to light the experiences of Black students on campus. The coalition is in the process of being established and is still accepting applications. Courtney continued, "We would love to see a communication portal between students and administration, an annual renewal of training for administration, faculty, and staff, and a reevaluation of curriculums and hiring processes." Courtney is optimistic about the progress that the Civil Rights Commission has the potential to make, but also recognizes that it is not the end. With the creation of the commission, we'll further be able to have these conversations, and although it still might take a lot of research and student support to back us, the door seems a little more open, she said. Junior Olivia Steenberg was also collecting student responses at the entrance to Gallagher. "I'm participating today because I want to use my privilege to uplift the voices of people of color and Black voices. We've heard them say very clearly that what this campus is currently doing isn't enough, so I want to do whatever I can to create change," she said. Students can follow the activity of the COBRA Collective at COBRA Collective on Instagram.
You're all looking quite lovely this evening, and we would love to hear from lovely people such as you. So, if you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns, then send them over to the multimedia crew. Our email address is xaviernewswire@gmail.com, and we will read your emails and, we'll respond to them. We'll act on them. We will do our absolute best. And if you ever miss any of our episodes, you can find Newswire Live on YouTube. Just search Xavier Newswire to find our channel, and there you can find clips and even full episodes. Now I'm going to turn it over to Chloe Salveson for Chloe's Campus Catch-Up.
All right. Well, first off, the Games Club, Inclusion Club, Black Clare Club, and students against slavery have all achieved full club status. There was some controversy over Black Hair Club, as many senators were concerned the club would conflict with other minority clubs. However, this concern was remedied. The Active Minds Club was tabled for discussion until next week. SGA constitutional amendments were also tabled for the third straight week. On the topic of SGA, don't forget SGA elections are this Wednesday, October 28th. Tune in to our SGA Executive Forum tomorrow night at 6 p.m. in the lower level of Gallagher. Dave Johnson, Associate Provost of Chief Student Affairs Officer, noted the pass-fail options for the semester. The information regarding it is supposed to be released tomorrow, but he said Xavier will only be allowing the pass-fail option for 1 class or 3 credit hours. This is a matter of debate among SGA senators who were hoping to have the same option as last semester, which was the pass-fail option for 2 classes or 6 credit hours. There is an upcoming ERS lecture on November 9th over Zoom. And the Presidential Search Committee narrowed down their candidates for the president that will succeed Father Graham. They were pleased with the diversity and experience represented. And that's the campus catch-up.
Thanks, Chloe. Here is an update on COVID-19 at Xavier and in Hamilton County. As of Sunday, October 25th, there are 28 people in the Xavier community with confirmed active cases. 6 of them are employees. 7 students are isolated on campus, and 15 are isolated off campus. More than 92.3% of Ohio residents are living in a county that is at red level or high incidence of the virus. 3 counties in Ohio are currently on the most serious watch list for COVID cases, with one of these being Hamilton County. The county has hit 5 of the 7 indicators that would force it to be designated as a purple level area. Last week, the county averaged 234 cases per 100,000 residents, equating to 93 new cases per day. There are more than 200 people hospitalized, the highest number in the region since the start of the pandemic. The state has released no specific guidelines on what happens if a county should reach purple level. The spread has become much easier recently due to colder weather forcing people to move gatherings indoors, as well as less mask wearing. Residents are being encouraged by Governor Mike DeWine to continue social distancing and wearing a mask around people they do not live with.
Thank you, Chloe, and thank you, Erin, for those wonderful updates on the state and campus in which we live. Now we're going to move on for the Restorative Justice Circle participation piece by Morgan Miles.
Spurring discussion among Xavier students, junior philosophy, politics, and the public major Christo Fassi led a restorative justice circle focused on thoughts about the current state of our country and its people. I decided to join because of an interest in the political ideologies of other students. However, as Fassi began explaining the concept of restorative justice circles, our intentions as a group to not make anything political developed. The circle felt much more personal and inviting afterward. I wouldn't have to justify who I'm voting for or feel left out among older students. Divisions within the United States drove the conversation. Divisions we hear and see and know about, but need to sit down and address. Though not comparable to forms of opposition such as protest, the circle turned collective thoughts into words. Personally, I believe that words are the stepping stones to activism and advocacy that fight passiveness and apathy. The students participating alongside me in the circle incited hope. I felt more positively about our generation's involvement in the government or influencing its direction. The voices I heard in this circle are ones that America desperately needs. Progressive, compassionate, respectful, all discussions should have these aspects, not just restorative justice circles with the established intent of participants respecting one another. Priya Deshmukh, a junior digital media major, is an example of voices that can make an impact when pushed into action. In her answers throughout the discussion, She highlighted that achieving success in this country is too difficult, and how the government will paint this picture that they are trying to interfere in other countries to help people, but really just hurt people. Deshmukh, in my eyes, painted an accurate picture of our country's inability to live up to its pristine image. There's no American dream in a place where an immigrant can safely flee a torn country or is accused by the president of coming from a dirty country. Nor have our efforts throughout history to spread democracy been genuine or desired. Deshmukh's commentary turned my effortless complacency into dissatisfaction. And I think I could have only had that kind of experience by tuning into the circle. My world is sheltered, and I experience the world safely. Reminders through discussion are a way to pop the bubble. Step out of the safety net that is my privilege in daily life. Everyone in the circle seemed to hold similar sentiments, but always gave different answers. Offering insight into how you think and why you think that way are reasons why the students in the circle gave me ideas to sit on afterward. Fernando Aguelo, a sophomore PPP and economics major, questioned, "How do you work on sticking to your beliefs while working with other people?" To me, that seems like a simple question with an easy answer. Just learn how to compromise, right? Aguelo continued to mention that he feels pessimistic about democratic processes right now and believes our democracy feels like a failure sometimes. As other students spoke after Aguelo, I thought more about what he had said, and I agreed. A government ruled by the people, for the people, should not feel so corrupt. I shouldn't fear the upcoming elections outcomes as much as I do, or how negatively the elections outcomes, or how negatively the majority in the circle shared they felt. How do we compromise when everything's polarized, when democracy is failing to appease us? Aguelo's voice wouldn't have ever been heard by me if not for the circle. As Americans and students of Xavier, we have a responsibility to ensure that the future of our country doesn't continue on the downward trend of distrust and extreme polarization. Divisions currently damaging the U.S. led to Fosse's restorative reflection among a group of people just like you and me. We see wrongness in the world and seek change, and decided to take a step toward activism through civil conversation.
Hello and welcome, listeners, and hello and welcome, Morgan.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm so great. How are you?
Great. So getting right into this, could you go into a little bit about what the Restorative Justice Circle was? What kind of did it look like? What did the activity how did it take shape? What was the process of the whole thing?
So a bunch of students, Krista sent out this email, and I was really intrigued because it was what is our ideal America? What are your values? And how would you use these values to implement them into the system to make your America better? So realistic goals for our future, because we're young and we need to improve our country. And so we came in, and it could be any major. It's not just PPP. We sat around in a circle and really. We meditated before, it was nice, and we all agreed. We established rules that were respect, kindness towards one another. We all have valid beliefs. And then we passed, quote unquote passed because COVID, we all don't want to be touching something. We held a nicely made dove, offered by Cristo, to, we hold up the piece, and then when you hold up the piece, you speak. So you go counterclockwise, yeah, you know what I mean. Around the circle, so not anyone is interrupting each other and everyone's voices are heard, but we're not it wasn't this big fight. It was just a very nice, literally a peace circle where we all can just voice what we are thinking without fighting. It's nothing that's damaging to one another.
Very interesting. Was there also discussion after someone presented their ideas? Was there discussion on that idea?
Not necessarily. I did, and a few others had addressed someone's opinion, hey, I like that, or I agreed with that, or in response to this person. We did that, but it was more so, I feel more passing the piece around. Your piece is to have your voice be heard and not necessarily like complete this back and forth discussion.
Okay, very interesting. I like that. I like that a lot. Anyone else? Would you like to chime in?
I mean, to me, it sounds very productive and substantial within the conversations. Would you agree?
Actually, yes, because I thought a lot about people's perspectives, and there's things that I would have not thought about before, and a lot of their values were like just loving one another and just being progressive and not have like, I was very like adamant on being passionate about your beliefs, and everyone else seemed to agree with that sentiment. So it was productive in the sense that it made me think a lot more about actually participating in ways that I can help reform the country.
This sounds like a great event, Morgan. Will they be hosting more restorative justice circles, or have they announced anything like that?
I guess I haven't heard about anything, but Hunter apparently says yes, they will.
I'm just hopping onto the mic here. Sorry, David. I'm kind of...
You're good.
You know, just
nice.
stealing your
I feel
stealing
like
your show here.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
So Cristo has talked about holding a restorative justice circle post-election to kind of reflect again on, moving forward and just having, just a group discussion where it's not about debate, it's not about coming after each other, it's just about shared values. And so yeah, not to completely cut on this conversation, but Cristo really did a lot of hard work planning the event. I was able to also take a part in that. And Morgan, I think your summary of this, it was really, really excellent. But yeah, there will be more events like this in the future, for a way to engage with people on Xavier's campus who maybe don't have the same opinions as you. They don't have the same political beliefs as you. But you could still have a productive conversation. And I think that was the best thing about the Restorative Justice Circle.
Thank you very much, Hunter. Always a pleasure. And also thank you for that information, because that is very, very important. Would anyone else like to throw in anything? Throw their hat in the ring.
I'd just like to say I'm excited to see how it takes shape in the coming months. Or weeks, I guess. The election is closer than it appears.
Morgan, real quick, you said you got that notified about that over email, yes?
Oh yeah, it was sent to me, maybe not to everybody. I am a PPP major, and my academic advisor, it's like Dr. Brownlee. He sent an email out to us.
Interesting. Very cool. Very cool. I wonder...
But there was a digital media major, so I guess you just had to...
Hunter, did you know, was that event made a public thing on like Engage XU, or... It was? Yes, I am getting a head nod. Yes, it was on Engage XU. So any of you out there who are interested in participating in an event like this, check up on Engage XU, see what events are coming up. I'm sure there's also a way to get on an email list or something similar, but... you can also reach out to Cristo Fosse. So, yes, that is CHRISTOFOSSE. So reach out to them, and they will get you that information most likely. That is at least what I am told by our wonderful editor. Well, listeners, then unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today in this episode of Newswire Live. Thank you so very, very much for tuning into the show today. If you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns, send them over to the multimedia crew at xaviernewswire@gmail.com. Once again, our email is xaviernewswire@gmail.com. We'd like to give a special thanks to Carolyn Youngquist, a senior music education major at Xavier, who produced the intro and outro songs heard in today's show. We would also like to thank Rafael Krux for the use of his song Inspiration, which was what you heard during Intermission. At this time, we'd also like to give a shout out to our staff and guests who helped make this episode possible. Thank you to Managing Multimedia Editor Hunter Ellis, Associate Multimedia Editor and co-host Will Pembroke, Newswire Editor-in-Chief Heather Gast, Newswire Managing Editor Alex Budzinski, Campus Correspondent Chloe Salveson, Producer Will Rippey, Runner and Moral Support Charlie Gestalder, our intern for this week Nina Benich, and our guest host for this episode Erin Albright. Without all of you, this show would not be possible. Thank you also to Morgan Miles, John Stowell, and Julia Lankisch for your contributions to this episode. You can now find Newswire Live episodes on YouTube. If you missed any of them, just search Xavier Newswire to find our channel. There you can find full episodes and clips, so go check it out. But of course, we would love to have you with us live, so don't miss our next episode, which as always is Monday at 7 p.m. Until then, this is David Ludwig wishing you a macabre on Monday evening, because, Halloween and stuff, and signing off.